Hey there, Twisters. For this video, we're counting down the 20 jerseys I want to see come back in the Fanatics era of jerseys. So of course, Adidas has been the producer for a number of years, but now we're moving on to Fanatics at the end of this season. So I thought I'd kind of reflect back on some great jerseys that I've seen in my lifetime, and even before then, and I would like to see these come back in some way, shape, or form. I did take some of your comments from a previous video as well, so we got 20 in total here. And after I'm done with that, at the end of this video, I'm gonna talk about the over 70 jerseys that I'm selling from my collection. Just see the pinned comment if you wanna jump to that right now, or the timestamp down below. But yeah, we'll share more about that a little bit later. So at number 20, I have the Winnipeg Jets jerseys from the 1990s, from 90 to 96. And what I thought is interesting about this is that this comes just before that revolution of jersey designs in the 1990s, all those crazy experiments. Whereas really the Jets marketing team, or the branding team that they hired to even help with the Winnipeg wideout, designed this new kind of refined look. They talked to the season ticket holders. They wanted the same look more or less, so they went with the same colors. They just kind of simplified the logo, and they just made simple bands on the sleeves and also on the waist. And I just think that it looks very presentable. It's grown on me over the years, and of course we associate that with Teemu Selanne's 76-goal rookie season in 92-93. For number 19, we go to the Philadelphia Flyers and the black jersey that they wore from 1997 to 07. So the Flyers hadn't worn black up until then in their 30 years of existence, but even though I still like them in orange, I think this is still a good looking jersey, and it's a good complement to their current home and away jerseys. And yeah, they've had the black alternate in the Adidas era, but even so, I still would like to see sort of that traditional Flyers design, but in black. Those little bits of orange just really pop with that, especially when you look at the orange outlining to the numbers. I just think it would be a good time to go back to it because it's already been over 15 years since we last saw that. All right, so for number 18, we go to the Edmonton Oilers, and I'm looking at the navy and copper and bronze look that they had from 1996 to 2007. So the reason why they did this was because, at least according to one marketing executive, he had called the royal blue look soft and dated. So they wanted to go with something darker, more menacing, but at the same time they wanted to keep the very familiar look. And so even though I wasn't much of a fan of this growing up, I think it's a good complement to what the Oilers already have. It's a tried and true design. The little bits of red, the thin red stripes, and also around the logo, I think are a really good sort of accent to this. And the shoulder logo is something that really does resemble the mascot quite well. It's the only time that the Oilers have ever had shoulder logos up until the, of course, Todd McFarlane jersey, the oil drop jersey that we saw in Reverse Retro 2.0. For number 17, we go to the Vancouver Canucks, and I've chosen the white skate jersey worn from 1992 to 97. So in the 80s, after the Flying V, the Canucks went with a skate logo on the front. However, that was issued in yellow, and then of course they also had one in black. But Director of Hockey Operations Brian Burke had called them puke yellow jerseys, and so that kind of ignited a change in their branding, and I think that it was for the better. Now with this jersey, it did start with yellow and orange stripes. However, they would eventually change to the yellow and red, and personally I do like that more. Of course, the Canucks have reissued the black skate jersey, and it's looked fantastic, and they've made some awesome refinements to it in recent years. I'd like to see something very similar but in white. For number 16, we go to this comment here from L1K5. New York Rangers white Lady Liberty must come back. I totally agree with you. I never collected that one, but I do have the navy one, although I am selling it. It's just gorgeous. This logo is something else. It was only worn from 1998 to 99, and so Wayne Gretzky actually wore this for a handful of games. Of course, we know that the Reverse Retro series included the Lady Liberty for the 1.0 and also the 2.0. Those look great, especially the 2.0 with how they filled out the sleeves. I'd like to see something very similar in white and make that an alternate at least for a few years. All right, for number 16, we go to the Washington Capitals, the Screaming Eagle from 1995 to 2007. This was such a huge change for the Capitals, and it was in the similar vein of many other teams in the 1990s with their rebranding, with their alternate jerseys. The Capitals, of course, before then had worn red, white, and blue, and as one team official said, they, quote, never had a logo, we always had a word. So they never really had a true mascot on the front of their jerseys. But then I've got the Reverse Retro 1.0, an amazing subscriber gift, and they have this amazing Screaming Eagle. This was done, of course, in the Capitals' current color scheme, but as we saw with Reverse Retro 2.0, using that black, blue, and bronze actually looks really good in Adidas. I was kind of a doubter going into it, but after seeing that, I really do want to see that in white, and as an alternate, it would be fantastic. For number 14, let's go to this comment here from Justin. I would personally love to see the Wings bring back the Gordie Howe era jerseys in some capacity. And you know, I did think about that a little bit myself. From 1982 to 83, they had these really cool numbers on the back of their jerseys, and that was actually used later on for the 2014 Winter Classic. So I would definitely embrace any sort of version of that with the smaller Red Wings logo with the coloring inversed. However, I decided to go with the 2009 Winter Classic jersey, which was basically what the Red Wings wore before they were the Red Wings as the Detroit Cougars in 1926-27. Now, just like the core Red Wings look, this one is very simple. It's got that old English D on the front, but as I've said before, a complex logo or an intricate logo, kind of like the Red Wings winged wheel, it can look really good on an overall simple looking jersey. So you might be wondering, why were the Red Wings the Cougars at one point? Well, in 1926, the team acquired the rights to several players from a team in Victoria called the Victoria Cougars. They actually won the 1925 Stanley Cup. And so they decided basically taking that Cougars sort of mascot and porting that over to their team, and they went with that for 4 years. So the fans would actually call them the Cowgers or something kind of like that. And so ultimately they had an opportunity to rename the team. They were the Falcons for a little bit, and then they became the Red Wings. And they only wore this jersey for one season, but I think that among the Cougars looks and also for the Falcons, this is easily the best one. It could be adopted once again for a professional Detroit hockey team. For number 13, let's go to this comment here from Atlas Virtue. As a Wild fan, if you were to pick one besides the Reverse Retro 2.0, I would say the green script alternate would be the most iconic one. The Wild wore this from 2009 to 17, and this, as somebody who wasn't collecting jerseys at the time, it really jumped out at me, and I thought to myself, well, I don't even watch this team all that much, but I gotta have it in my collection, and I'm so glad that I did collect it, although I will sell it. You've got that little bit of North Star from the original logo integrated into this great script here. I don't know if the camera's picking this up so much, but what I like about this is it's not really using the red all that much. The Wild were actually wearing red at home, and so this brought back the original forest green. It has the sweater collar, which looks excellent. Only thing I don't really like here is the piping along the shoulders, but for something we haven't seen in a little while, I think that this would just be absolutely fantastic to have in their sort of jersey lineup. And I can't forget that the NHL actually used something quite like this for the 2004 All-Star Game when it was hosted in St. Paul, and then later on, the Iowa Wild for the AHL would adopt a similar look. For number 12, I chose a Toronto jersey. So the Maple Leafs, of course, used to be the Arenas, and we did see them reissue that for the Heritage Classic, and then later on they became the St. Pats in the 1920s. But what happened in 1927 was Conn Smythe bought the Maple Leafs, and he decided to change up their mascot mid-season. I think it was in February. So their original look was just a plain white sweater with a green maple leaf and the text Toronto underneath that, and then the next year they would go to their signature blue and white sweaters. It is kind of weird sort of seeing the Maple Leafs in green, but again, that union of the classic St. Pat's look with the Maple Leafs and some great sweaters that they had in the 30s and 40s. I'd love to see that come back, especially if the Maple Leafs have another outdoor game like they had with the Heritage Classic. For number 11, I have the Nashville Predators checkerboard jersey, which was worn as an alternate from 2009 to 2011. Man, this is such a relic. It's very difficult to collect, but that's why I like it even more. It's got that subtle checkerboard pattern on the bottom. It was actually prototyped as a white jersey as well. I've seen some pictures of those, and it looks great. And really, the Predators eventually would lean more into the Predators gold sort of motif with their home jerseys, and even with what they turned out with for the Stadium Series and especially the Winter Classic in 2020. But this one, to me, it just looks awesome. And where I really think it shines is the logo with that sort of ice blue outline and also the red eye of the Predator. I think that that looks absolutely fantastic. It's my favorite version of the Nashville Predators logos. For number 10, let's go to this comment here from Serial Miller. As a Pens fan, I know I'll probably get flack, but I'd love to see the Robo Penguin come back as a primary jersey, in particular the black, silver, and gold jersey from 2000. I think that you're referring to the gradient jersey that they had at the end of the 90s. That is a fantastic jersey. It's one I have in my collection, but the Penguins have reissued that sort of as a Reverse Retro 2.0, so I left it off this list. The Penguins have had several great looks throughout their entire history, and they did bring back some of those in the Adidas era, but one that we haven't seen in over a decade now is one of my absolute favorites I've ever collected, and that is the '08 Winter Classic, which was worn also as an alternate up until 2011. Now, in their inaugural season, the Penguins had those wordmark sweaters, but I'm so glad that they changed to actually featuring the Penguin. This was redesigned after their first season, so they did have a Penguin for their official logo. That's the one that you saw on the 2013 Winter Classic, right? But that was the one with the scarf. It was kind of chonky looking, and so then they redesigned their logo. The same artist came back with something more aggressive, gave him that sort of scowl with his eyebrow there, and made him a little bit more buff. And it looks fantastic. And for whatever reason, I just think that this is something that has aged particularly pretty well. And with a sweater collar, maybe being used as an alternate, used for some sort of commemorative occasion, the Penguins, they have lots of opportunities to do that. And so I think it would look absolutely terrific. It's just a shame that it was only worn up until 1971, until it was reissued later on. For number 9, I've chosen the St. Louis Blues jersey that was worn mostly from 1987 to 94. So what happened just before that was that they had new ownership come in, and they didn't like the coloring. They thought that the blue was a little bit too soft looking, and so they decided to darken it, and they actually put blues above the blue note as a word mark. They eventually took that down. The fans didn't care for that so much, but I liked what they did afterwards. They added a little bit more red into the logo and also to the numbers. And the reason why they did that is because the flag of St. Louis is predominantly red, but it also has blue and yellow in it. So it looked like it was more part of St. Louis. And then they refined the Blue Note logo to kind of round it out a little bit more. They put St. Louis in it as well. And kind of like the Penguins, the Blues do have several great looks, but this one in particular, I like that it's a little more simple than what they're currently wearing right now. They still have a good look right now, but I like how this one is more of a royal blue, whereas the current jerseys use a lot more navy blue. And I know there are a lot of fans who would like to see the Arch jersey return from the Reebok era. I'd be perfectly fine with that as well. For number 8, let's go to this comment here from Chopper Gunner. As a Panthers fan, I believe the best uniform ever is the early 2000s dark blue one, with the Leaping Panther on the front and the red and yellow shoulder design. So for this spot in the countdown, yes, I am going with the original Leaping Panther, but I gotta go with the original red jersey. Now, in particular, I do like this logo without the snapping stick. I just like the symmetry of it more. It's aggressive, and you still have those great shoulder logos as well with the palm trees, which they used for Reverse Retro 2.0. But yeah, it's got an aggression to it. It uses kind of a unique color scheme in the NHL, and yeah, I'd like to see this come back properly. I know it was reissued for Reverse Retro 1.0, but we do have to see it in red again, I think. For number 7, I've chosen the Montreal Canadiens white jerseys from 1944 to 1947. So this has the blue chest stripe. It goes all the way around to the back, and this matches what they wear at home, or at least what they wear now with the primarily red jersey. So I'd like to see the Canadiens have that matching jersey on the road, and I wouldn't mind seeing the current white jersey be retired or relegated to an alternate or something like that. Now, this white jersey was actually reissued as early as 2003. It was used occasionally, and it was the full-time alternate for the 2006-07 season, and this is just a shot in the dark, but that would mean that it had been 60 years since they had won the Stanley Cup in those jerseys in 1946. So if you want to bring them back again in like 2026, that could commemorate the 80th anniversary. But yeah, I do think that it's easily the best white jersey the Canadiens have worn, except for the 2016 Winter Classic. All right, for number 6, let's go to this comment here from JBE Jaren. My Sharks need to bring back those original Cow Palace era sweaters with original crest and the gray stripe along the bottom. So elegant. They had a lot of great looks over the years, but nothing ever topped the originals. Now, the Sharks, of course, have reissued the teal jersey, and they've done so in the more deep Pacific teal that they currently wear. However, they still have yet to bring back the original white jersey, which is just an absolute beauty. You do have that gray along the bottom and in the arms as well. And yes, this is one of the best jerseys that we've seen in that era. The Sharks really kickstarting the teal revolution in hockey in the 1990s, and some other sports teams would take a cue from them as well. As Gordie Howe said about these jerseys, and especially the logo, quote, "The crest you wear on your chest is what catches everybody's eye, and if this crest doesn't catch your eye, you'd better check your pulse." Now, the Sharks wore this from 1991 to 98, and in that first season, or in the calendar year of 91, only the Los Angeles Raiders and the Chicago White Sox outsold the Sharks in North American pro teams merchandise. And you might say, okay, the Raiders maybe, but why the White Sox? Well, I got 2 words for you, and that's Ice Cube. For number 5, I've got the Chicago Blackhawks black jerseys from 1996 to 2009, especially from 08 to 09. during the Reebok Edge era. That is one of my favorite jerseys, very hard to collect as well. Now the Blackhawks originally wore black, right? We saw that in the 2019 Winter Classic. That is a throwback to their original uniforms. And they'd wear a black-based jersey all the way up until the mid-50s when they switched to red full-time. I really do like what they wore during that era of barber pole jerseys in the 40s, but the black jersey here is so clean and presentable, and it really does kind of complement the other two main jerseys that the Hawks wear. I especially like how they took the white jersey and did something very similar in black with the red at the end of the sleeves. I think that looks fantastic. And then they have the tomahawk logos on the shoulders, the same ones that are used on the red jersey. And to top things off, I especially like the red outlining to the numbers. Those look wonderful. All right, for number 4, I've chosen the Ottawa Senators O jersey, which was worn as an alternate from 2011 to 2017, and there was a cream white version of this for the 2014 Heritage Classic. These are just wonderful. They are sort of a throwback to the original Ottawa Senators with those barber pole jerseys, but this is a lot more presentable. It's something that you would not get tired of seeing on the ice. I've got Erik Karlsson on the back as well. And one thing that's really unique about these jerseys are the shoulder logos. You have Ottawa Senators in French here, and then you have it in English on the other shoulder. But basically, this was what the Senators would wear on the front of their jerseys back in the 20s or early 30s. But instead of saying Senators, it would say World's Champs. So it was a way of commemorating them winning the Stanley Cup the previous season. The Canadiens had done that at least one year as well. So I think it's really cool that the Senators integrated that with this. This black jersey and also its cream variant are my favorite Senators jerseys ever between both eras, so I would never get tired of seeing these on the ice. Maybe add a sweater collar to that as well. Now let's go to number 3. We've got this comment here from, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, I'm assuming it's Finnish, Juhani Sepala. My favorite Dallas Stars jersey is the 97 to 99 black away jersey. It's the one they wore when I started following them. Now, I'm not sure if I exactly understood that correctly, but I'm going to show my favorite, and that is what started in 1997 as the Star jersey, and it was worn all the way up until 06. It was originally an alternate jersey and then became the primary dark jersey. There is a white variant of this as well, and I know the Stars have tried reissuing this in Reverse Retro 1.0, but that was kind of a disaster in my opinion. I'd love to see this come back. The only other time I've seen this jersey is during Sergei Zubov's number retirement. As a lot of you know, the shape of this jersey is what was worn during the All-Star games in the mid-1990s, and it translated so well for the Dallas Stars here, and I just love the coloring on this, the numbers, everything just looks very creative, but it still looks polished and put together, and this was worn when they won the Stanley Cup back in 1999. It's an absolute classic, and it's a damn shame we haven't seen this on the ice just yet. And now we're down to our final 2 spots on the countdown, and it's really surprising here because even though I'm a Northern California native, I've actually chosen the 2 Southern California teams for the top 2 spots. That's how much I like the color purple, I guess you could say. So for number 2, I've chosen the LA Kings first jersey, the original purple and gold, or as they would say, foreign blue. Apparently the owner didn't like the word purple, and that was the same year that he rebranded the Lakers to purple and gold as well. And I know that they've reissued this at times, like during the Reebok era, they had those Legends nights. They had the jersey on ice in purple and also in gold. But I would like to see this somewhat full-time as an alternate. It would just look fantastic. It's such a timeless look. Although I will say I am excited that the Kings are experimenting possibly with going back to the old chevron design for their home and away jersey in silver, black, and white. I think that would be fantastic going forward. And that brings us to our top spot here. We go to this comment here from Ducelis. Duck's eggplant needs to come back permanently. We have seen it reissued before in the Reebok era, but it's been too damn long. I know that they brought it back as Reverse Retro 2.0. They've had the alternate, right, with the new color scheme. But come on, guys, we got to see this old one come back. This is as timeless as it gets, and this might be my favorite jersey I've ever owned. I've got Temu on the back of this one, the eggplant and jade. Originally, it was going to be purple and gold, I read in one story, and also they had the uniforms in burgundy, but soon thereafter they changed to the eggplant purple color. Michael Eisner, who used to be the CEO of Disney, had said, quote, "We goofy-eyed Jason from Friday the 13th. We wanted something between Disney-esque and hockey mean, not too light, not too silly." And I know that there was some pushback, certainly from hockey purists when this came out, but it is aged like a fine wine. It needs to come come back, especially in these colors. The Ducks did a good job with bringing it back as an alternate and in Reverse Retro 2.0, but nothing compares to the original. Not with these colors, not with this, you know, the nostalgia from this. All right, so that concludes our countdown. Let me know your favorites from this, or if there are some jerseys I missed out there. And without further ado, I'm gonna talk about the over 70 jerseys that I'm selling. So here's how it goes. See the pinned comment down below. I have 2 links that you should definitely check out. The first one is a spreadsheet that contains all the information about my jerseys, the team, the size, the if there's customization, the condition, any specific notes from that. And then the second link will take you to a photo album. I have multiple photos of every jersey available. So then that way you can see what the shoulder logo looks like. You can see how the customization was done. You can always email me if you have questions as well. And speaking of which, once you've found something that you're interested in, send me an email, twistedwristermister@gmail.com, to see the video description for more info on that. In your email, it's probably a good idea to also include your full name and a shipping address as well. I will ship to the US and Canada. International, you can inquire about it. We'll see what we can do about that. But anyway, I'll get back to you. I'll let you know if it's available, and then I'll give you my information for payment. So payment will be conducted through either PayPal or Venmo. And once I receive payment, then I will take care of sending it out to you, and I will let you know your tracking information once I've shipped it out as well. Most of these jerseys are size medium. I have plenty of smalls and also some larges as well, but keep in mind that hockey jerseys, especially the Adidas ones, they can run pretty big. At least they can run really long. So I'm 6 feet tall, I am kind of thin, but I can fit into a small, I can fit into a large. It can still look pretty good on me. And if you don't find something that's good for you, who knows? You might find something that would make a good gift for somebody. These are some pretty great prices, I have to say. And for all the NHL jerseys, these are licensed NHL products. They are not fakes. For the replicas, I do want to note though that usually you'd see that gray size tag at the bottom of the jersey, but for all of these, I've stripped it. So there aren't any real like visible damages from that. It looks much more presentable this way. If you have any further questions, feel free to reply to my pinned comment and stick around. We'll have more coverage of jerseys as we find out more information about what's coming in the Fanatics era. I heard there's also going to be a new San Jose Sharks alternate, so I might make a reaction to that. Anyway, guys, stick around for more great content covering hockey history and culture. I'm Nick, and I'll catch you Twisters later.